Good morning. It's Sunday. This is my leadership call for today. I I did a video yesterday, but I didn't post it, and I'll tell you why. Um, what was on my mind was with WSB or the Green Team, which we're part of. If I'm sending this to you, you're my, you know, um, we're on the Schwan Wins under Schwan Wins leadership. Okay, so Schwan Win was always made a distinction between a personality driven business and a system built business. And what a personality, so like if you're into like personality profiles, Personality Plus by Florence Littauer, you understand the different temperaments of people, and you're adjusting your message to meet their personality. Okay, and then there are people that are they're good speakers, or they're attractive. They're good looking people. All right, and so that those they're using those abilities to build their business, and it's hard to duplicate, and that's the point. Where Schwan Win would emphasize the system, which is basically a process of disseminating the information. And when you can make the information of value, it and that was his emphasis, to make the information the star, not the deliverer, the star. Okay, and so there's when you look at uh, like the market, the stock market, right? Okay, what is that? Well, there's different markets in the stock market. There's the penny stocks. These are, little startup companies that are offering. You can actually get stock shares for cents, just for pennies, right? But they can get enough money to get capital to do what they got to do, and but they get totally manipulated. I mean, you'll get market makers that'll be pulling down your stock price so you can't get off the ground, right? And then they try to buy up everybody's stock at a cheap price, and then if you do get off the ground, then they make a bunch of money. But you know, it's really manipulated. And the all stocks, once the company issues their shares and gets on the IPO, okay, or the initial stock offering, or they let go of the stocks that they've held back from the initial IPO. Once they've sold that stock has no, that it don't matter, right? You're never going to get enough stock in a company to control the company, because they do on purpose. They hold back 51%, okay, because they're going to maintain control, okay, but they need the capital, right? And so once it's sold the first time, you can sell and sell over and over and over again, okay. But what's happened 10 years ago, well, it's going on, 12 years ago now, the 2008 crash, there there was becoming a bifurcation in the market. And what that meant was, advisors for investors, traditionally they always look at how the company is operating, what their supply chain is, and their market draw. They're looking at their CEO, if he made good decisions, he's a reputable guy. They're looking at the board of advisors. Do they make smart decisions? And all that. But the thing that they added to that caused this bifurcation, this split, was their level of debt. So the companies that had low debt, they were going to take off. Oh yeah, and then market in the emerging markets, that's another thing. And then the other thing was if they didn't have, if they had debt, if they were dependent on the banks, they were going to go down. Okay, and that's what they were looking for when they were, looking for companies for their funds, whether it was a mutual fund or a pension fund or whatever, right? Well, then comes the repo crisis. I'm like, what is this repo crisis? And so I look it up, and what it was is China, the end of last year, stopped buying and manufacturing internal combustion engine automobiles, right? And that was good for Tesla, but that wasn't good for Ford, GM, and Chrysler, and Volkswagen, and BMW, and the Toyota and Honda, and all the other car manufacturers. So as of January this year, all the big three in the United States, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, are now making electric vehicles. But the repo crisis came in because these the banks have to have a certain level of money in their reserve accounts at the close of business. I mean, every night. Okay, and what they do, if they have a shortfall, they borrow from other banks. All right, and like some of the big banks are Chase and Barclays. Okay, that do this, and the end of last year, they stopped. So the Fed had to jump in, and they put in almost as much money as they did for TARP in 2008. So what was the big crisis? Why were they concerned? Okay, well, what they were concerned about were the automobile financing. They were worried that now that the world is going electric and pulling away from internal combustion engine automobiles, that people were going to just stop along the highway and leave their car and walk away from their vehicles and not finish paying for them like they did their mortgages in 2008, right? And now it's going to have an effect. It's going to have an effect, but it's not going to be that abrupt. It's going to have a big effect on the oil and gas industry, even though the majority of oil and gas still goes to run power plants and generators with oil and natural gas for electricity. Okay, but the price of gas at the pump is going to go down unless they really start restricting production, then it'll go up, which may happen. Okay, but with all that said, it caused businesses greater concern. And so what they started to do is they started to buy up their own stock. So when stock was down, they're manipulating the market for themselves, which is not uncommon. They release some stock. The investment advisors and fund managers, they let go of their stock at the same time. Then they buy it back at a discount, and so they're hoarding their shares, their stock for their companies. Okay, so it's all supply and demand, and what that does is driving up the price of the stock. And why are they doing that? Because that's how businesses get capital, other than financing. It's money when they sell the shares of stock. This money that they can use to operate their business that they don't have to pay back. Okay, and so with all this going on in the world, why is the market still up? Well, the reason the market is still up is because the businesses are hoarding their shares so they can have capital to use even when the market goes down. And I learned that because I plug into the information. All right,